Welcome to Next of Kin, the podcast. I'm your host Emma, a British expat, toddler mum and business owner living in Dubai. Join me for candid conversations about expat motherhood, business and everything in between. I've invited some incredible guests to join me this season who you are really going to want to know about. So let's jump straight in. Hello, it's Emma here, speaking to you from the future because I'm recording this intro after we recorded this interview. And I'm going to keep it real brief because we get into so many topics during this chat, from what it's like to live in Abu Dhabi to Simone's experience of being a third culture kid and what we can then learn from that when we're raising our own third culture kids. To be honest, we ran out of time because we then discussed her experience of depression and how this led on to her starting Eklektik Mama in Abu Dhabi. If you are based in Abu Dhabi, do check out Eklektik Mama. It's eclectic spelt with K's. I'll add it to the links in the show notes and you can find them through our Instagram. They put on some fabulous events and are a real lifeline for the Abu Dhabi mums. Anyway, I said I'll keep it brief, so let's speak to the wonderful Simone. Simone, welcome to Next of Kin, the podcast. Thank you for joining me today. How are you?
I am so good. I'm a little bit nervous, but no, I'm really good. I'm so excited to chat with you. It's been a little while.
It has. And we first spoke before you'd even begun Eklektik Mama. So it's nice to chat now and see how it's grown and where you're at. But before we do all of that, I want to hear a bit more about your background, where you grew up, how you've ended up in Abu Dhabi with loads of children.
You breeder. I love it. So yeah, basically in a nutshell, I'll have to give you the whole backstory. So my dad's Armenian, my mom is Irish. They met in London in the 70s. As you do. They were probably, they bonded over the fact they were in a club that they both didn't want to be in. The two most social people ever were dragged to this London club by their friends. Both didn't want to be there. They met, they connected. So dad was working in construction at the time. And in those days, so this would have been the 70s, going abroad was considered a hardship. Like, it was a hardship job. And so he was like, I'll take them. And he was posted to the Caribbean. So my parents got married. They're like, yeah, let's do it. And when I say, I grew up in the Caribbean, people are like, oh, exotic. Yeah. But for my mom, and my dad, to be fair, it was beautiful, but really, really hard. So anyway, so I was born. They went back to the UK to have me. Mom then flew back out with me when I was 6 weeks old. We lived in Trinidad. We then went to Egypt. We then moved to Jamaica, back to Egypt. I might be butchering this. No, Barbados, then Egypt, then Jamaica. Then we went to the UK for a stretch. Then we lived in Bahrain, and then we ended up in Dubai. So it was... for my mom and my dad, traveling around countries. There was no Skype. There was no internet. It was mail, like actual letter writing to countries that had very poor mail systems. Infrastructure was developing, like, in the nicest way possible. And they did it. It was insane. Like, they were the proper original kind of expat living, where you ended up in countries that were you were very much away from things that were considered comfort, like my mom had to learn to drive in countries that had developing roads, different sides of the road driving and different cultures. And it was, they were considered hardship posts because you were really isolated from people. So I just think they're incredible. And they were traveling, they were packing up houses and breaking down houses and building up homes every single country that we lived in. So I don't know how my parents did it with the three of us. So and then we moved to Dubai when I was, I think it was 93 or 94, and I was 10. No, I was 9. We went into primary school here. And we thought we'd be in Dubai for 2 years. That famous line,
yeah.
here for 2 years. And 2 years came, and for me as a kid, I loved traveling. I loved moving. I always thought of it as an adventure. I never worried about leaving friends. It was always, yeah, like, where are we going next? And I remember going to my dad asking, so where are we going to next? And he was like, oh, we might be staying for an extra year. And it just kept happening every year, every year. Okay. 30 years later, it was nuts. So, yeah, left for uni, came back, and I swear in that 5-year period, JBR went up. I came back and I don't reckon everybody. So you'd come back from your holidays and there was something new, a new road, a new building, a new whole like residential area would go up, and whole city transformed the 5 years I was away at uni. And then came back, got a job, worked in Dubai for I think 8 years, and then met my husband, and we decided to leave again, do a bit of venturing and traveling, and went to Canada. I'm giving you my whole life story now. Moved to Canada.
No, I love it.
What did we do? Got married. So we were 2 years in Canada. During that time, we got married, got pregnant, realized that we were really, really far away from everyone. Like at this point, my mom was still living in Dubai. My dad was living in the Netherlands, modern marriage. And Dean's family, my husband's family, were all in the UK. So we were really, really far away from everybody, and just thought, this is a bit too far and we need to kind of be a bit closer to everyone. So we moved to the UK for a stretch. We were there for 5 years, had our first 2 kids, and realized it wasn't quite for us. The one thing I think about growing up as an expat is that everyone's in the same boat. When you leave your network and your family and you move to a new country, you have to be social, you have to be welcoming, you have to connect with other people, otherwise you're going to be isolated. And so I always grew up with that. I always grew up in a friendly environment where people wanted to connect. And when we moved to Canada, when we moved to the UK, we went to cultures that didn't have that. They didn't need to have that. These were their homes. So you were attempting to make friends with folks that already had their networks, already had their family close by, their school friends. They weren't in a position to need more friends. So I think Dean and I found it quite strange going to that kind of thinking of, oh, it's really hard to make friends. Like, we were really on our own a lot of the time. We didn't have family. Thank goodness we enjoy each other's company. Otherwise, it would have been really, really lonely. And so we kind of found this in the UK. We found this in Canada. And it really did shape our decision to come back. We were here on a holiday, and I was just like, Dino, I love it here. I really love it here. I miss it. I really want to give my kids the same experiences that I had growing up. I really think living abroad widens the way you look at the world, and it kind of shapes your compassion. And so we were really fortunate. He was able to find a job in Abu Dhabi. It was really cool because Abu Dhabi was different. Going back to Dubai would have been amazing, but I kind of had grown up with that and I knew it, and I was kind of missing that kind of adventure. And I thought, well, Abu Dhabi's different. It'll be a new group of people to learn, a new kind of city to navigate. And so, yeah, we went to Abu Dhabi. That was nearly 3 years ago now, and we've not looked back. It's been an absolute whirlwind. We landed, got pregnant with the twins kind of quickly, and then went straight into navigating family of 4 life. And we've decided no more kids. That's it. Done.
So you are really an expat kid, a third culture kid, and a success story because you love it, right? You love that that's how you were brought up.
Yes, absolutely. So much so. And I recognize it from a really young age too, just how lucky I was. As I said, I love traveling. I have always loved traveling. Even as a kid, I could sense when that 2 years was coming up and where we were going to go to next. It was such an adventure. You'd go to these new countries and you'd meet these new people and you'd find new homes. And my parents were forced to. There was no one that they could leave us with. So we went with them when they were looking at new houses to live in, and where we would build a home, and where they really involved us in a lot of decisions, which was so cool for me. It was so exciting, and it really, as I said before, it really shapes your brain when you're meeting different cultures and different people and seeing how different places are shaped and formed, and not just the people, but socially and economically. And you taught that from a young age. It really does shape how you approach everything in your life afterwards. And as I said, I saw that as a kid. Like we'd go back to the UK now and again. And even as like a teenager, I would see I was a little bit different because of that. The way people spoke about certain things. And I'd be like, but if you talk to someone else about that and see it from their angle, then, and they wouldn't have had that experience just because of the way they grew up. It's insulated. And here we're just so lucky that we get to meet with other people and talk about different experiences. And I think if we are open to it, it can really shape our empathy. It can really shape our compassion to others, and how just our circumstances can be so different to another person's circumstances. And it might not necessarily be right or wrong. It's just different. And having those conversations are just so important. And I think, more of these conversations are needed, where you're seeing like what's happening on a global stage right now. A lot of these people just need to be sitting down and chatting. And I am just so grateful for being the way I am because of the way my parents raised me. And I am so, again, fortunate and glad that I can give this to my kids. I think you see a lot of people worry about, growing up in Dubai or growing up in the UAE, how will it affect the kids? Are they going to be spoilt? Are they going to be a bit too coddled? And probably to a degree, yes, they will be, depending on how you shape them as a family and the parent. But also that breadth of knowledge they're going to gain, again, if you do it right and you talk about it, and you will give your children a huge gift that will see them through, hopefully, a great adulthood. That's my hope, anyway.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? I asked that question because I know that so many parents and so many people that are listening are probably questioning that and whether it is good for the kids. And you said about as long as you are doing it right, what are your tips there? What are things that you're implementing in your own family
Oh,
to
God.
ensure you are doing it right?
Great question. I think you can only hope you're doing it right. You
Of
will,
course.
I hands on heart, I do it right sometimes. I do it really wrong other times. I can only go by what my parents did with me, and that we were really open. We talked about everything. We talked about, like, so it's a tricky one. So with the news, for me, for in our household, the news is a big thing. So when we were growing up, we used to watch the news from a really young age, and we saw things and were exposed to things that we probably shouldn't have been at such a young age. And I know nowadays, like for me, it's that, how much do you educate your children in what's happening, whilst also being respectful to their innocence and being
Yeah.
respectful to a culture that you're living in, and getting that balance. It's just, I don't think there's a right and wrong. I think you just have to do your best. Every family's circumstances are so different, and everyone's culture is so different, and the way you approach raising your children is so shaped by those things. Like, I don't think there's a one size fits all. Within our family dynamic, we're very open with money. We talk about every family's financial circumstances are different. Some people can afford to do more. Some people can afford to do less. But the fun is what is the important thing. And like that family time is what's really important. But again, like everyone's family circumstances are different. So again, this is very much to our family. We focus on like weekends are weekends. So we do lots of fun stuff, and it will be that kind of family time, and we try and make it a mix. So we can't always afford to go out constantly all the time, but we try and like do time at home. We'll have movie nights, and I think one thing to remember, and I think it's so easy to forget, kids don't remember all the play dates, and they don't remember all the, where did we go here, where did we go there? But what they do remember is how they felt when they're with you. And
Yeah.
like my big memories, like I remember some of the amazing stuff, like we'd go to the beach, but I remember we'd go and do a new experience, but I would enjoy it because I felt safe with my parents doing that new experience. That's like, that feeling of a family unit is really awesome. Like, so we try
Yeah.
and spend a lot of time with our kids at the weekend, because during the week it's just so busy.
Yeah.
So for us, like, that's really important, that kind of family time, that financial chats, explaining that every family circumstances are different and the experiences are going to be different.
It's literally what you were just saying about understanding that everybody is different in the world and has different views. Like, that's really illustrating it. I think the thing that us Dubai parents worry about is them feeling poor at school, or really being materialistic, or those kind of being spoiled. Those kind of words are what we worry about. But
it's that reality of it too. Like, our children are already spoiled.
yeah,
We are living in a very privileged part of the world, whether we like it or not. Our children are going to be privileged. And it's acknowledging that, and also talking to them about that privilege. I know some people will be like, oh, we don't like the word privilege, it's too PC, and but it's true whether you like it or not.
yeah,
Our children are so lucky. They're in a small percentage globally of wealth, whether whether you like it or not. We are very fortunate people living here, and that has to come into the conversation a bit too. Like, we tell our kids all the time, if you went to any other part of the world, you would not see what you see in Abu Dhabi. You would not see what you see in Dubai. Your way of living would be very different. You wouldn't be going to malls. You wouldn't be having access to water on tap, perhaps. It's very different. And I think, again, it's having those conversations
yeah,
and that education. And if you're lucky enough, taking them to these countries so they can see and they can learn. And, like, we talk about safety and we talk about crime, and it's hilarious. Like, Darcy's, my middle daughter's, Mama, if we go here, is there crime? And it's like, yeah, there will be crime. Like, it's hilarious. They're so kind of innocent with it. And it's like, kind of, yeah, you're going to have spoiled children, but it's whether they're nice spoiled children, whether they can recognize that
yeah,
they're privileged and they can be empathetic and compassionate to others who have different backgrounds to them, I think is really important. And like, when I was growing up, we had friends that were, varying on when it came to the wealth spectrum, and
mm-hmm.
families and different, even the family structures themselves. Some had two parents working, some had one parent, some had, were very wealthy, some were not. So, you see, that's the nice thing about living here, is that you're not just exposed to one kind of person. You have such a huge mix, and that's nice. I think it's reality. As you're getting older and becoming an adult, you're going to be surrounded by people who are different to you or have different circumstances to you. And it's just the realities of it. You have to be educated enough to know, and, be settled enough to know that whatever your course is in life, that's, what it is. You can shape it if you can. And yeah, like, yes. Yeah.
Well, let's get on to Abu Dhabi, because I know you love Abu Dhabi, and I know there's quite a lot of people wondering at the moment whether they should be moving to Abu Dhabi, whether they should be maybe leaving Dubai. You're saying, no, keep the roads clear. You're like, how quiet the malls are. I know the malls are so quiet and the roads are so quiet. But tell me, why do you love Abu Dhabi? What kind of family, what kind of person would thrive in Abu Dhabi?
So I love Abu Dhabi because it reminds me of Dubai growing up.
Yeah.
So when I was growing up in Dubai, it was really, really different to how it is now. And it's funny when I see my school friends, like when we head up and we hang out with my old school friends, the way we grew up, it was just so much more chill. It was really kind of sleepy, beach vibes. I remember, like, if you lived in a certain part of Dubai, and you could drive everywhere within 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And if anything was further than 15 or 20 minutes, it was like, oh, that's such a schlep to get out there. Like, what? We went to school, our school was DC, and we lived in like around Jumeirah. And that was a really long bus ride of like 30 minutes. Really long bus ride. And for us, as we were getting older and seeing Dubai get busier, and those commute times change from like 10 minutes to, hold on, it's now taking me 20 minutes to get here. Hold on, why is it taking me 30 minutes to get to Park and Shop when I live like around the corner? What's going on? That's how we knew it was getting busier. It was nuts, absolutely nuts. And and I remember even just driving from Dubai to Abu Dhabi when I was working in Dubai, that hour felt like a distance and a half. Like it really
Oh, it does.
crossing a border. It was,
Yeah.
so far away. And now living in Abu Dhabi, we go to Dubai like once a month to see my brothers. And it's like, oh, this is nothing. This is a zip. This is absolutely.
But that road is soul destroying. The road between, it's just so straight. It's so boring.
I find it really relaxing.
Yeah.
Like, kids, you can fall asleep. We've got an hour. Put the music on. It's like, yes, I can't be disturbed. It is chill. This is, oh yeah, I find that road now like just the most peaceful time, and you can feel it. You can feel when you're leaving Dubai and you're driving into Abu Dhabi, and it's like,
See,
yes.
that's when I get the anxiety, because I know that I need to keep under the speed limit in Abu Dhabi. I always get a speeding fine in Abu Dhabi.
I love it. It's like, this is your limit. You don't have to worry about 20% more. Like, that's the limit.
Yeah.
Stick to that limit and you're fine. There's no kind of hidden, oh, can I get an extra 5 kilometers in here or 20 there? Oh, yeah. No, I love Abu Dhabi. As I mentioned, it really does remind me of growing up in Dubai when we were younger. It is quieter. The roads are more chill. The malls are more chill. I think people are more chill. Here, it's a little bit more grown up. In that Dubai was amazing to be in your 20s and 30s when you're working and you're dating and you're just getting all those new experiences, and you don't have, can you say, incumbents? Like, you don't have children on you. You can be selfish in Dubai, and it's awesome. It like completely caters for that part of your life. And then you have your kids and you get a bit more responsible a little bit. And Abu Dhabi is incredible for family life, like really incredible for family life. There is so much to do. And when you're meeting other people all the time with kids as well, it's like, oh yeah, I've got my people. This is awesome. And everyone's just so nice. I think there's that kind of hustle bustle city culture isn't here as much. Like, you've got all your amenities and you've got everything on tap, which is great, but you also have that kind of really relaxed vibe, and people really value that relaxed vibe. I think they don't want to lose it. I think people here see what Dubai is like, and it's great to go for a weekend, but when they come back, they really want to maintain that kind of chill, that relaxedness, that family kind of feeling about it. I find that, it is getting busier here, which the population here is really, even like, we've been here 3 years and we can see how much like the malls are getting slightly busier, and it's funny how you gauge it by the malls. The malls are getting slightly busier, so it's definitely growing. But it's a really nice vibe. And I think everyone, because you've got kids, everyone's in a similar boat. They know that you're all going to be up at probably 5 a.m. and you're all a little bit caffeine deprived, and everyone's just, the driving's cool too. I just love it.
No, I think it's the roads that could get people to move from Dubai to Abu Dhabi. Do you have any specific tips, though, for someone who is moving to Abu Dhabi?
Yeah, so I probably suggest what we did. So when find your school. Like, if you've got kids and you're moving to Abu Dhabi, find your school and then base everything else around your school.
And how are schools out there? Out there, an hour away from where I am now. But how are the schools?
Really good. So I can only compare it to my schooling in Dubai, and to me, there's no
Yeah.
comparison. Like, it's really good. It is what it is. If you're coming from a different country and you're paying fees, and that can be a bit of a soul destroying handover. But no, it's, the teachers really care. I think I can only base it on how happy my kids are when I pick them up, and they're
Yeah.
happy. Like, I've never had anyone say, "Oh, I hate going to school," or "I don't want to do this," or like, the kids skip it.
Yeah.
They love it. And there's a really nice selection of schools, and they kind of cater to different family setups. So that's nice. So if you've got, how do I say this in a nice way? Like, there's the really academic schools, there's the schools that are a bit more balanced, there's schools that have IB, there's schools that are a British system, there's schools that are French. They have a real mix of different schools. So that's cool, and something to kind of hopefully work for every family. My suggestion would be, if you're thinking about coming through to Abu Dhabi, find your school and then build everything else around the school. Because some of the distances, like when we first moved, the kids' school was off island. We were in temporary accommodation on island, and that was a 30-minute drive. So I was driving 2 hours a day to drop off and collect the kids, which I had been used to a 10-hour drive around the road in the UK. So not 10-hour, 10-minute 10-minute loop around. So for me, driving 2 hours a day for the school drop off and pickup was soul destroying. So my advice would be, find your school first, and then everything just cater around it. And yeah, and ask. Like, there's so many Facebook groups here. There's so many Abu Dhabi Facebook groups that you can ask your questions, and everyone's so helpful. Again, everyone's in the same boat. They've been in that position at some point, whether you're moving from Dubai here or from Singapore here. There's questions, and not everyone can come and recce before they make the move. So just so helpful. Everyone's really kind. And yeah, I think it's just not being scared to ask the weird questions, and there's no such thing as a silly question.
And would you say cost of living is sort of the same as Dubai?
I'm not too sure, because I haven't lived in Dubai as a family ever. And you hear that housing's more expensive here, I think, because the packages here are slightly different. There's a lot more businesses that cover housing, not for us. A lot of folks do have their housing covered, so the rents are kind of a little bit more expensive based on that.
Right.
But I think rents are just generally expensive here. So it's always something, again, find your school that suits your circumstances, and then find your housing that suits your circumstances. For us, like, when we moved across, we had a very specific budget that we knew we had to live within. Because, again, being here when we were younger, we had seen the mistakes that people had made when they'd moved across. Like, life here is great, but it's also very easy to spend your money here. So if you haven't got that kind of financial savviness of saving and living within your means, or under your means if you can, it is really easy to come here, not save any money, and then go back and like, oh, well, that wasn't financially smart now, was it?
But it was fun.
So yeah, when we moved out here, we were very specific with our numbers. We knew what school the kids had to go to and how much we were going to be spending on that. And then we dictated everything else based on those numbers and worked backwards to make sure that we weren't over living.
Did you have the twins in Abu Dhabi then? And the others in Canada and the UK?
Yeah, the first were born in the UK, and the twins were born in Abu Dhabi.
And how was that?
It was really good, actually. Yeah, no, so when you find out you're having twins, and because I was 39 when I found out I was pregnant with them, so I'm immediately categorized as high risk. And so the hospital I had them here is called the Corniche, and that is a government hospital that specializes in high risk pregnancies. So it was a kind of given that I would go there. We did look at other places, but I love the Corniche. It's based on the UK midwife model, and The care was fantastic, really fantastic. I had a doctor for me. I had a very amazing. I had an amazing doctor for the twins who monitored them during the pregnancy. He was probably the most invested male I'd ever had the joy of knowing within the medical environment. He was lovely. He was such a sweetheart when it came. You would genuinely be excited to see me every visit, every 3 weeks. It was lovely. And yeah, no, I think the experience is much better here than probably in the UK. It was, yeah, I think probably the only drawback I'd say is that in the UK, you've got your postpartum care. Well, here that doesn't really exist, which is a shame. And it's kind of helped me develop Eclectic Mama.
Yeah, well, let's get on to Eclectic Mama then. You've just given me the perfect segue. Actually, before, I would like to know, because obviously I just have one child. And so I've just gone from that 0 to 1 and that huge life altering matrescence and everything. Which was the most difficult for you? Was it going 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 4?
No, 2 to 4 was the easiest.
Really?
0 to 1. I say it to every mom I meet.
Yeah.
0 to 1 for me, and I think generally, is the hardest for the mom, for dad, for everything. Your whole life, you're physically, mentally, and circumstantially completely flipped over. Yeah. And whether you want to admit it or not, you just can't prepare for it. You can read all the books, you can watch all the podcasts, you can listen to other mums, you can think you can be as type A about it as you like.
Yeah.
You will not be prepared for it. And the journey of becoming a mom is so unique based on every single person's personality. You just can't be prepared for it. Like I know I wasn't, and I'm a fairly laid back person and kind of knew that it would be a bit of a go. You don't know how your body and how your hormones and how you're physically going to recover from having a baby.
Yeah.
And I think this needs to be spoken about more. I think people are so worried about scaring a potentially pregnant a pregnant person or a new mom or someone who's thinking about having a family, but we're doing them a disservice when we're trying not to tell them things because we're worried that we're going to scare them off having children. No, knowledge is power. It is very hard having children. You and your first one, oh my gosh, it is I found it really, really hard going for, I had a great life. Dean and I traveled all the time. We were financially secure. We were incredibly privileged. We could do what we wanted when we wanted. We both wanted to start a family. We both had a really good existence up to that point. So we felt very, very ready we knew there were going to be sacrifices. We were ready for those sacrifices. Well, we thought we were ready for those sacrifices. And it still flipped our world upside down. You go from being an independent person to, especially for women, your body is turned inside out, your mind is turned inside out. You have a child that is 1000% dependent on you. You are learning their personality, your new personality, your new normal, your husband or your partner's new normal, all while having zero sleep, very little food, probably very little water. And if you're living here, you've got no support. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. That first child is absolutely going to be your learning curve. And I really wish more parents were given guidance on the fact that you're going to make mistakes. You're going to say unkind things to each other. It is going to be very stressful, but there are going to be some pockets of joy that's how amazing it is. Those pockets of joy will make those hard parts absolutely incredible. And that's how awesome it is bringing life into this world.
Yeah.
There is still space for those incredibly hard parts of having children.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong in saying, oh my gosh, I did not know this was going to be what it was going to be like.
Yeah.
I'm actually hating it right now. we need those safe spaces, and women need those safe spaces to, I think we get so lost now in social media and see, and everyone says social media, but it's such a big thing, like, especially when you're using it to kind of, you're breastfeeding or you're feeding and you're in this baby routine. Social media is your escape. TV is your escape. And when you're only ever seeing a certain type of motherhood being portrayed and you're in the dredges of it and you're not seeing that, it can be incredibly isolating and incredibly scary, and you think you're doing something wrong. And if you're already in a sleep deprived fight or flight mode and you're not seeing imagery of yourself being coming back at you, reflected back at you, it just makes you feel like you're doing something wrong and you're on the wrong foot. And it just makes a very confusing time even more confusing. And that's why I always say we need to talk about this more. We need to talk about the ugly side of motherhood because it's there. Parenting is beautiful, but it's also incredibly ugly. It's messy. It's, poo under your nails, vomit everywhere. You would rather catch your child vomiting than let it fall on the carpet type of thing. Like, it is, it's gross. And it's okay to say, I hate this, because you will hate it. But then your child will smile at you and you just think, oh my gosh, yes, this is absolutely worth it. And it's just insane. It's like,
I have this most mornings where I wake up because I'm being woken up by Bonnie, probably kicking me and poking me in my bed. I'm like, you shouldn't even be there. Come on, when are you going to sleep in your own bed? And I'm there waking up, starting the day, just being like, for God's sake. And then within like seconds, she has just like smiled at me. Or now that she's a bit older, she'll put her face close to mine. She'll be like, I love you, mummy. And then I look at her and I'm like, oh my God, you're so cute. This is so great. So the duality and the roller coaster of it all. Like, I'm so with you.
yeah, it is. It's insane. It is insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, to go back to your original question, your first is hands down your hardest because you're going through
Okay.
all of that for the first time and you
Yeah.
are learning on the go with very little resources and very little tools, and your mind is changing, your body is changing, your husband is changing. There's so much change. You're just in fight or
Yeah.
flight mode the whole time. And then you have your second, if you're lucky enough to have a second, and because that huge transformation's happened already, the second one kind of just slots in. You don't have that massive change to navigate as well as a young baby. You just have a young baby. You're prepared. You're not going to get much sleep. You know that the feeding journey is going to be unique. You don't know if you're going to breastfeed or bottle feed, or it's going to be something that you're going to have to tackle. It's going to look different for your child. You know more. And I think having that experience really, once you know how to do something, it's easier. So you have your second, it's easier. You enjoy it more because you're not learning on the go. It's a bit more experience. Yeah. When we had the twins, it was incredible. Like, we knew this was going to be our last bunch of children.
Yeah.
We don't get me wrong, we cried for a month when we found out we were going to have twins. The financial hit of that alone was just, we were such careful budgeters that we had never planned. So again, it's like that kind of, you can plan and then someone laughs. Like, so yeah, there's no planning. And so, yeah, we cried for a month. It was such shocking news. And we would tell people that were pregnant with twins and people would laugh. And then I would cry because, like, why are you laughing? This is really scary. I remember we have a community, a compound chat, and another twin mom said to me, "Oh, there's nothing better than being a twin mom." And I was like, "You're on crack. What are you talking about? Like, I can think of a lot of other things being better than a twin mom."
Yeah.
Don't come at me with this. This is not true. And I've said it to her now, like, you are so right. You are so right. It is so incredibly special. It's so incredibly hard, but you get double of everything. You get double the tears. You also get double that love. You know that toddler squish when they kind of just collapse into you? I have both of them doing that to me at the same time, and you just think, oh, my heart is full. Like, amazing, amazing. And they have such different personalities, and it's just like, there's just no words to describe like how amazing it is being a twin mom. But yeah, if you're a twin mom and you want real advice, please come to me. I'll tell you.
Well, let's get on to Eclectic Mama, because I did say we were about to move on to Eclectic Mama. So you should probably tell the listeners all about what you're doing with Eclectic Mama and where they can find that advice and support.
Oh, so yeah, so I started Eklektik Mama. So for me, when we went to the UK, it was the opposite of what people have when they move to the UAE. You move to the UAE, you're away from your family, you're away from your friends, so you need to find that network. And you're lucky that you're surrounded by other people who are also in that position, so everyone's quite friendly. For me, when I went to the UK, not that people weren't friendly, but it was the opposite. So I moved when I was 8 months pregnant. I didn't have a chance to make friends with other women at the same kind of pregnancy level as me or with young children. I went straight into, I went straight into labor. And then I had this newborn and I didn't have time to make friends. Like, I was surviving. I just, what? And then same thing, we had Darcy, and Eric was still young. We didn't have a school run to meet other mums on. So I was really, really isolated for those first few years, those first 3 years. And I only found out when I was pregnant with Darcy that I had perinatal depression. So that's when you develop depression in your first pregnancy and it goes undiagnosed between pregnancies.
Okay.
And I was so ill and I didn't realize how ill I was. And I think it shows you how consuming motherhood is. I mentally was considered high risk. I never actually asked what I was high risk for. I was too scared for the answer. But I was diagnosed as high risk PND. And I was so ingrained in being mum that I thought me feeling that way was normal. So it kind of like you push yourself back so much in raising a baby that, again, it's just something that's not talked about enough. I was really unwell. And it was only when I think I was 3 or 4 months pregnant with Darcy and I went to my midwife. I was like, I'm not coping. This is it. I understood. I think the scary part for me, there was 2 moments. The scary part for me was I understood why people took their lives. And I had gone from a person who could never understand that way of thinking to understanding why someone would do it. And that was a real wake up call for me. That told me that something is not wired right. I am not well. And another one was intrusive thoughts. Now, I know we all get intrusive thoughts as mums, but when those intrusive thoughts impact your behavior, that is also a really big sign. So when again, with my pregnancy with Darcy, I stopped leaving the house. The thoughts were so powerful that I thought something bad would happen if I left the house with Eric. So we didn't leave. During the week, I wouldn't leave the house. I'd only go out the weekends with my husband. And even then, I would freak out. If we went into the car, for example, if we were on a roundabout, I would have images of people crashing into us to the point I'd flinch. And then Dean would be like, whoa, why are you flinching? Like, what's happening that I've not spotted? I was so unwell. And I was unwell because I didn't have someone to talk to. I didn't have a lot of friends. I didn't have, I was really lucky that I had extended family around me and I had cousins around me, but no one that I could really say, I don't know what I'm doing. And I just didn't feel like I had that safe space. Well, I didn't even know what to talk about. I didn't know I was unwell. So how can you ask for help when you don't know that you're well? You're unwell. So it was the most confusing time, going to a midwife, like something feels off, but I don't know what. I don't feel sad. I don't feel like I'm crying all the time. I just have this massive detachment from everything. I wasn't getting excited about everything. I was perfunctory. I was mothering, like Eric was looked after, but I felt no joy. I felt no sadness. I just felt nothing. And we would so for me, coming to Dubai on holidays would be like the highlight of the year. It was going home. It was awesome. It was comfort. It was something I knew it would be the most amazing thing, and to break up a year to go on holiday to Dubai. we went on holiday and I felt nothing. I had a panic attack on the plane and just felt nothing the whole holiday. And I was like, yeah, this is, again, this is wrong, not right. And so I was really grateful. I got help and I got better, had Darcy, had therapy, had all the meds. And luckily, my personality, I talked about it a lot with everyone that I met. Whether that's a good thing or not, I don't know. And it really planted in me from that part, like how important it is to talk, to have safe spaces, and to be surrounded by women who feel comfortable enough to also talk freely. It's one thing talking to other people politely, and there's another to have a safe space where you can really talk about how you're feeling and how you're doing and not feel like you're going to be judged, not feel that you're being extra vulnerable, because being mom is already vulnerable. So that stayed with me ever since. How important, like what I needed to get better has always stayed with me. And then living in the UK and having that kind of passion lit up about female and women's rights anyway, seeing how women were being impacted by childcare and lack of it, and it, like, my kind of advocacy really started to grow. Like I got better and I got angry. I got angry that I was put in that situation because there was a lack of resources around me. And the UK is quite good, but it's not good enough. I got so unwell because there wasn't enough check-ins. When I had Eric, no, someone would ask, "How are you mentally?" "I'm fine." I wasn't.
Yeah.
I didn't know that I wasn't fine. I thought that's how it was meant to be as a new mum. I'd never done this before.
Yeah.
So, like, that question in itself is a stupid question.
Yeah.
Fine. I was so scared if I said I wasn't fine, someone would take my baby away.
Yeah.
And again, that's information. That's telling me there's not enough education around mental health in women. I even hate the word mental health. Like, so if you're not well mentally, you're unhealthy. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, you wouldn't say to someone who has a broken bone, "Oh, you're unhealthy." It's just the terminology is wrong. The language is wrong. The way women are supported, it's not been thought about by women. It's been thought about wrong. It's just not being tackled right. So that really, like, that advocacy really kind of started to grow in the UK. We moved to Abu Dhabi. I got pregnant with the twins quite quickly again. And I found myself in a similar situation where not mentally I was fine, thank goodness. But I didn't have any mum friends who were pregnant. I didn't have any mum friends who were pregnant with twins. And so I had my whole pregnancy where I was really, really tired and really, really sleepy, didn't have the energy or the bandwidth to go out the house at all. I just couldn't hold a conversation. I was so exhausted with my pregnancy. Had the twins, and then was like, oh gosh, I've done this to myself again. I've got no one to talk to. I had my husband. We were fortunate enough to have family that would fly in and help us. But I had no mum friends at a similar level to me. I had friends that I knew on the school run, but no one with young babies and no one who kind of to talk to. And, having twin babies is a completely different journey to having a singleton. No one, I dropped off the radar for 4 or 5 months because I was literally in the baby bubble. I was tandem feeding twins. The level of organization to survive that, you just don't have time to have conversations with other people. And I was really, really lucky. I had 2 friends that, checked in all the time, and I was so fortunate for that. But again, when they would go, it was me with 2 babies on my own and trying to make sure I was grazing them and fueling them and feeding them. And and I just thought, not again. And I was like, right, well, what can I do? What can I do to help other mums not be in this position? What did I need? I needed a virtual help. I needed, I needed a safe space virtually and in person virtually for when I was at home in the baby bubble and not able to leave the house, or pregnant, not leave the house, because some people will have amazing pregnancies where they can go out and be active, and other women won't. The bandwidth will be used up going to the fridge to get a snack, and then they go to bed and that's it.
Yeah.
That's what they can do for that day. So I wanted to create safe, amazing, fun spaces that inspire women, inspire moms, both online, both in person. And then, yeah, Eklektik Mama was born nearly a year ago. And that was my angle. I wanted it to be a place where mums were prioritized. Yes, you have children. Yes, you have babies, but you are still the most important thing. And I don't think women get told that enough when you get pregnant or when you decide to have a family. It's almost immediate. You find out you're having a baby, and all the focus goes on the baby.
Yeah.
The only checks you get are, do you have gestational diabetes? Are you okay?
Yeah.
There's no kind of, right, let's give you the community access. There's these communities in this area that you can fall back on if you need help. And it's growing, which is awesome, because, you can't have the answers to everything. So, yeah, we have an amazing WhatsApp community, which for me was really, really important because I wasn't able to leave the house. But I wish I'd had that when I was pregnant with Eric and Darcy and the twins, so that I could talk to other people and be like, right, today this has happened. Is this normal?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just so nice to know that you're not alone. And that's my biggest premise, is I hated feeling alone. And the thought that other mums are drowning in that feeling, I hate it. It really, it makes me cry that there are other women there, and there are so many women drowning in motherhood.
Can you tell us a bit more about the events? Because your events sound amazing, and I might have to move to Abu Dhabi just because these pop up on Instagram or on the email. I think I'm on the newsletter, and I'm like, should I drive to go to this? This sounds great.
Please do. Oh my gosh, that'd be amazing. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so all the events I organize, I try and do it. I want it to be as fun as possible, supportive and fun and out of the box and just different. I think you have your baby, and don't get me wrong, it's wonderful to have playgroups, and it's wonderful to be able to meet moms through playgroups. But personally, for me, I hated playgroups. I hated the sensoriness. I hated how loud they were. I hated the rainbows and the flashy lights, and I couldn't talk to anyone because the baby was doing something, or I just found them, personally, I hated them. So I never went to them. And so I found that there was nowhere for me to go that was right for me. Yeah. So it was like, right, it was very selfish. It's like, what do I want when I go? I hate going out. Like, I do. I'm a home person. It is easier for me to stay at home than it is to go out. So what would get me out of the house? Yeah. It would have to be, I'd have to know that there's help, especially with twins. Going out the house with twins and no extra pair of hands is like, no. So I needed to have events where we had sitters that would help moms just sit down and be like, oh, can I take that baby from you while you drink your coffee and have a bite to eat that you've not made yourself? So it was, and everything has to be around food. I'm such a foodie. I love food, and women never eat properly. We never eat properly. So I was like, it has to be food, has to be sitters to help us watch the little ones. There has to be entertainment for the little ones, but there has to be entertainment for the mums too. It has to be like a complete experience, so that you're treating yourself, you're spoiling yourself, you're getting out of the house and having fun. Yeah. Like, we just, really hard to schedule fun in when you're a mom. Yeah. So that's what I want to bring.
And the very first event that I saw on your Instagram, it was BYOB, bring your own baby. And I was like, this is amazing. This is amazing. That hooked me in. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I really delight in having that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah, like, it's your nice. Instagram's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, we need more fun. We need more fun. Like, motherhood is so serious all the time. Are your babies meeting the milestones? Yeah. Are you okay? It is hard. It is so hard. Like, we just need more fun. And I just want to create those opportunities of fun. So we have our bring your own baby mama breakfasts. We have Mama Fit. which is again, I didn't want to do Pilates and yoga. They're wonderful, but I wanted to hit something.
Yeah.
My weeks are crazy and I don't want to breathe out my frustrations. I want to punch something. So I was like, right. My husband does MMA. He used to be huge into MMA before we had the kids. And I was like, I would love to do that.
Yeah.
I would love to punch, kick. And again, it's how often do you see women in those spaces taking up that frustration and that rage and channeling it somewhere that is safe to do so? And what's the pain point? How do I get out of the house when I've got a child? Like, I don't know any gyms here that have crushes. I think there used to be one and it's closed with COVID.
Yeah.
So it's a pain point. What do mums do when they want to channel out their frustrations, but they don't know what to do with their babies? So again, we partnered up with an amazing sitting team. They watch the babies in this incredible fighting ring. And it's set up with toys and books, and they're entertained and they're having fun. And the mums have a safe space to do an activity that's not about them bouncing back.
So how can people reach you?
Follow us on Instagram, Eklektik Mama, spelled with K's. Join our WhatsApp group. Find us online at www.eklektikmama.com. And I cannot wait to see you. And I will give you the massivest of hugs because you deserve it. You're incredible.
Isn't she fabulous? Thank you again to Simone for just being so honest with your experience. And if you are Abu Dhabi based, please check out Eklektik Mama. That's at Eklektik Mama with K's on Instagram, but you'll find the links in the show notes. And can I just ask you for one more quick favour before we go? If you have enjoyed the podcast, please do follow and leave a review. Give us 5 stars, obviously. That really helps me out and it helps us get such fabulous guests. Till next time, Mama, take care.